This is the Marion City Council special session for Thursday, April 11th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Mr. Draper.
Here.
Ms. Atkins. Mr. Jensen.
Here.
Mayor Aboasley.
Here.
Mr. Stornad.
Here.
Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Ms. Cadelia.
In the house.
Okay, we have one item on the regular agenda for this special session.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27568, approving the small wireless facility design and review guideline policy.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27568, approving the small wireless facility design and review guideline policy. Discussion.
Mike's got a short briefing that he will do on this. Apologies for the short notice in the special session, but the legal department and engineering recently became aware of some pending action by the FCC that is actually going to have an impact at the local level. And if we do not have a policy in place by Monday that regulates these type of facilities, it defaults over to a presumption of approval. And as council knows, we've had issues in the past with some of the installations that have been done by Verizon. That's only one company. When you think about all the companies out here, we need to be able to have some local control and a review period with these and not just default back to you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
All right, so thank you for coming in. So what we're talking about here is kind of the picture on the left is kind of what you're used to seeing, those big towers out there. And what they're going to is what's on the right. So if we have no regulations, they're going to go out there and just start putting those small cells on every antenna that they can find, every light pole, traffic signal pole. In some major municipalities, they're putting them every 300 foot for each provider, and that's for 5G. So you've seen the ones that they've started putting in the city of Marion. So the one on the left-hand side is the one right outside City Hall there. We're looking at the school. And so you can see there, we worked with them and they got it on the black pole, so it's not as obvious, but there's still obviously the issues that we've had. So the one on the right is the fire hydrant. That a citizen went out and did the measurements and found out that it was too close because they put it at the exact location of a previous wood pole. And that was with us giving them guidance. So imagine if if we don't have this approved on Monday, we have 60 days to grant them the application with no regulations. So I kind of gave you the short copy. It's the thing with the blue on the top. And so you can see the title of it is FCC Facilitates Deployment of Wireless Infrastructure for 5G Connectivity. And right below it says Action Removes Regulatory Barriers to Infrastructure Investment. So those regulatory barriers that they're taking away is basically home rule and us having some regulatory over those coming in there. So this was a docket that was put forward, and so finding out that there was a date in there of Monday, that if you don't have some kind of a policy in place, you have 60 days to issue the permit. And so Ann put together the policy that was emailed out to you guys, and several cities have adopted this, so we haven't had a lot of time to go in and make it perfect of how we want it, but at least with this we have a starting place, and then we can amend it and do a more formal action later of, making sure it's the pole we want and stuff like that, but at least this is a starting point. But this is the FCC ruling, and then I'm not going to read all this to you. It's 114 pages long, so there's a lot of information in there, but basically they want to streamline. They say the small cells and the 5G are benefits, so we should just let them come in. So, the challenge for policymakers is that the deployment of these new networks will look different than the 3G and 4G deployments of the past. And it's going to be 80% of the new deployments will be the small cells going forward. So I'm just reading right from what I have up there for you guys. And so moving forward, they feel that there's threats to limiting the deployment of the 5G. So that's why they're overriding all the rules and wanting to just blanket to let us do whatever, so that's including state and local elected officials. So they've met with local officials and jurisdictions, but to our point of view, it doesn't appear that they've taken much of that into account when they wrote these rules. So they put these, what we're calling shot clocks in, so that's where we're saying that 60 days that we have to give them a permit If not, it's considered a failure to act, and they can basically sue the city and for not giving them a permit per the FCC regulations. So it's an order to compel us to let them go into our right-of-way. And then similar, Congress has done similar type, basically where taking the state and local authority over the placement, construction, modification of personal wireless service facilities and taking those limits out. So again, we're just trying to get some regulations in there so that they don't just blanket come in there. So there's some basic stuff like co-locating. If you can imagine poles every 300 feet for at least 4 or 5 providers, that's a lot of mini cells and what that is going to look like in our city. So, are there any questions? I know it's a lot that we're kind of throwing at you, but.
Go ahead, yes.
So in general, my understanding is that I always thought that the FCC kind of ruled the state, and then the state ruled more so the local. So you're saying this will trump the FCC regulations and allow local control if we approve this?
Not necessarily trump it, but we can have fair rules, so we can't do a moratorium.
Okay,
But at
that's
least,
fine. I understand
yeah.
that.
So this at least sets some guidelines and gives them some, we want you to co-locate. We don't want you to be just strapped onto a pole. We want you to be hidden, things like that. So we're not necessarily circumventing the rules. We're just trying to make it so that it's a better output.
And
I don't know if legal wants to.
If I would add, I would say that it seems like a considerable part of the rule is focused on giving local aesthetic control. They recognize that you want to have an image for your city and a branding, and that in as much as is possible with the technology, they wanted to vest some aesthetic controls with local administration.
And what's the urgency in terms of why did this have to be adopted before Monday?
Because in September, the FCC adopted this rule and said that within 180 days of the adoption of the rule, we had to have these policies in place. That 180 days calculates out to be April 15.
Okay.
And the deal is right now, if they came to you today with an application of this sort, you could say no for, most reasons. On Monday, if you don't have a policy in place, you can't say no.
Okay.
But
So did we just become aware of this date?
the League of Cities picked up on this 2 weeks ago and had their phone seminar for the city attorneys on Wednesday. And I was the only one in the state who ended up drafting a policy. Nobody else had a form, and once they grabbed mine, it went like wildfire across the state. And I stole mine from another facility, and I ran it past an engineer in one of our other towns, and he said, well, this is a very good start. It gets you going. And as a policy, you can change it at any time you like.
But as you indicated, Steve, it's incredibly rare for the FCC to adopt or promulgate anything that has a local impact. Usually what they do is at the state level or interstate level. So I don't know that any local organizations or League of Cities or anything were really monitoring the FCC before this point for rulings that would come down and impact our ability to control things down at our level.
So cities can't adopt a policy after Monday?
Oh, they can. It's just that you're exposed from Monday the 15th until the day that you adopt the policy. The policy cannot be retroactive.
Oh.
So you would be left without the ability
any
to control.
applications that come in that...
And it's thought in some of the other communities that I represent where they've been negotiating with some of these carriers, there seemed to be a lot of communication going on, and then all of a sudden it was radio silence. We couldn't get email, we couldn't get phone calls, we couldn't get anything. And it's perceived in the league that there are some of these carriers out there who are waiting to see who misses Monday so that they have an easy walk into the things that they want to put up in your town.
So just for clarification, if we're asked on this, I want to make sure I have it clear, is you're saying if we do not have this adopted by today or the 15th, then we can not decline an application.
Correct.
So we
That
have
comes
to
in on
accept
Monday.
that application effective 8 o'clock Monday morning.
Yeah, you have to, you would not have the right to say no, and as Mike said, you would have to issue their permit within 60 days. But all you're doing at that point is buying time. You still can't say no
Sure.
if you don't have this in place.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Cadillo.
Does this mean that we're not going to get the big towers anymore? We're going to get the small ones, or is there a percentage?
So 80% of the new deployments are the small cells.
And will they take down and will they replace the older ones with these newer, smaller ones going forward?
Possibly as the technology changes. 5G isn't here yet, so the ones that you see going up now are just basically they look at where there are weak spots in the network, and they're adding those in there. So possibly, but they don't have to.
Okay.
Wasn't Verizon the only one that has any towers, mini towers in town right now?
So far, and we have an agreement with them, but again, they have also gone silent lately too, so we don't know if they're trying to get around it.
They just 5G just went live with them last week. I know that from my work because it's going to help VR and AR applications, and the technology needed to run that. So the other ones will follow, but they're the first ones, and I don't know that they're physically here, but it's available, so it's coming.
Okay, other discussion? Okay, ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 27568, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. We have a closed session.
Your Honor, I move to make a motion to adjourn to closed session regarding litigation as permitted under Section 21.51C of the Code of Iowa.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn to closed session regarding litigation as permitted under Section 21.51C of the Code of Iowa. We have a legal opinion.
Yes, we do. I've reviewed the subject matter and find it appropriate under that code section.
Thank you. Okay. Do we need a discussion, or do we just move to the roll call vote? Yes, I don't.
Roll call
Any
vote.
discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Draper?
Yes.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Or Mr. Jensen, sorry. Mayor Abu-Asley?
Yes.
Mr. Sterned?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Ms. Cadelia?
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned to closed session. Thank you.